spend your time not only supporting your community, but helping yourselves to support your community, because you are becoming stronger and more able the more capacity that you build within yourself. Marcus and I know each other from my job at Legal Aid of Northwest Texas, where I serve as a legal secretary. And we started a community education program at Legal Aid, in which Marcus has always been a part of and has used and benefited the program that we are presenting. So we're going to be going over the workbook that we created a year ago. And today we're going to be working on item number 2. There's 9 items. So let me just get into that real quick. Um, okay. I'm just gonna skip through some of these pages. That's, legal aid, where all of this came from. These are the 9 subject areas. We were talking about the problem statement and the needs justification. Today, we're going to give an assignment on writing your goals. If you haven't done your problem statement, I think that today, because we're going to do a few examples, it'll help you to get yourself started. However, this workbook explains everything you need to know on all of those items that we were just looking at, the problem statement and the needs justification. It explains to you what it is. We're not going to get into that this time because we did that last week. So you get that, you read it, and then you go to the item number 1, which is the problem statement, and it gives you a mindset. And the main mindset is, listen to the question that is being asked. What is the problem? So take a moment, take a pause, take a breath, and say, as Keisha just simplified it in a short sentence, that I don't know anything that's happening, but I understand what she said. There is also a worksheet that goes with this workbook. So the workbook has, it's on PDF, but the worksheet itself has questions, and you're able to, it gives you more guidance, if you will, and it gives you a place to write stuff if you want. So today we're going to be working on item number 2. I'm just going to set it up and go back. We're going to be working on writing program goals. However, last week we said, do a homework, figure out what the problem is, straighten that out. And if you need to convince somebody to donate to your cause, are you able to, in very few statements, convey what the need is, what the problem, why the problem is happening, how you're trying to help, and what do you need? So that's all what a grant is all about. So as I was saying, the idea for the last class was, think about what the problem is. And I appreciate what Keisha was saying. She did her research. People want to know that you were invested. So if I had $500 to give to somebody who gave me the best problem, who convinced me through a problem statement today about your nonprofit or about your cause, what would you say to me? Anybody?
It's Mariah. Hey, how you doing? Hey, everybody. I would say like children in low income areas, like low income apartments. A lot of kids are neglected due to their parents being super busy at work, or they're in like a one parent household. Kids are raising kids, and you know a lot of these kids need guidance, and they're being raised by the streets. So I want to be able to provide guidance and resources to young children, because children are the future. So I want to be able to, maybe get them into self-defense classes, or, tutoring, or just have like a day that they can go and do something fun, because they may not have the funds, or their parents just may not have the time.
Mhm.
So and being neglected as a child, that causes issues as an adult, because you're a broken child, so you're gonna grow up and be a broken adult, and that that causes anger issues, or depression. Let me see what else I have. And a lot of kids, you are your environment. So, kids are like sponges. So if they're not being taught or cared for properly, and not saying like it's their parents' fault, because they're growing and learning too. But I just want to be that person to help with that issue, with because the kids are the future. So I mean that's my problem.
Thank you so much for that. Dion, we're going to get to your question after. Uh,
Yeah, but can I say what would be the problem?
Wait, give me a second, because what I want to do is I want to also go back to Mariah.
Right.
Um,
Okay.
okay. Uh, I want you to go back to the recording, because you have made some statements that are gold. We're going to go over them after. But now, whoever's next and has something to say, I'd like for you to speak, and we'll go over it after.
Okay, I can't see
This
anybody,
is
but
Elisa. Oh, oh, I'm sorry. I'll wait. Go ahead.
okay, I don't know. Can I go next or
Yeah,
what?
yes, go ahead, please.
I'm looking more at the parents. I do a lot of home visits, and a lot of things that happen within the home is generational. And so we just need to reset back to the 70s, where, the homes were a little bit more structured. And I honestly believe, parents really don't know how to structure the home, and they would definitely need more home training. And I do that already. I know they do.
Okay, what do you mean by structuring? I may have
I'm
missed
talking
something.
about going in there, replacing the drive through with a home cooked meal,
Uh,
having kids do chores, having and other responsibilities, being there when they're doing homework. I mean, just making yourself available, having your house clean. You have adult kids that are coming and going, and they're not even trying to pick up or do anything because they've never had to do it.
mhm.
So you have, and then it's hard to institute to require them to do it when you let them not do that for life. They've never had to do it.
Okay, but what you're telling me is, you're telling me what the
Problem is
so well. I'm not getting what the problem is. I'm getting
the
what.
problem is we have a society of un let me see how I can say this nicely, dysfunctional adults.
Okay,
Okay, so that is the problem. And so to solve the problem, we need to go to the real root of the problem, which is the way the children are being raised. It's
okay,
not the child's fault, it's the parent. And it also includes what Mariah was saying as well, how to save money, because we're in a situation where, people that are on a budget or getting government funds, they can't save much money, because if they do, then they lose whatever they're getting. So teaching them how to get around some of the loopholes that are put in place to keep people in generational poverty.
yes, word right there is golden. Associating it with the problem. We'll go back to that later. Thank you so much.
Yes,
Good.
can I go next?
Please go ahead.
Okay, so
Okay, this is
daughters,
oh,
you want to go and I can go after you.
Uh,
okay. This is Elisa, and my proposal is that you do heal the families, but our mine focuses on kids who have been recently released from juvenile correctional institutions. In a lot of cases, their parents are incarcerated. So I wanted to come up with a plan that would give them the tools and strategies to be self-sufficient, give them life skills, give them a place to land so that they don't go back into the same environment and pick up those same behaviors that got them incarcerated in the first place. So the problem is juvenile offenders not having an environment or a place, a support system whereby they can acquire the tools and strategies that they need to survive even in the absence of their parents.
Very good. Very, very well distilled. We'll go into that later. Thank you for sharing. Who's next,
Okay.
please?
Yes. So, daughters across the diaspora's problem is there's not enough Black women or women of color at the table in decision making. When it comes to having businesses and so on. So, daughters' solution is to develop a program that will teach women of color across the diaspora how to start a business, how to maintain a business, how to secure funds, how to make sure your tax papers is in order, your board is in order. So that's our solution to the problem of Black women or women of color across the diaspora not having a seat at the table.
Very good. I don't want to leave anyone who may want to share something without saying. Anybody else
Please
has?
mute your phone if you're not talking.
Please, thank you.
Yes, I do have a problem.
Okay, go ahead.
Well,
Just one? Very good.
no, I have several, but in the state of Texas, we're losing about 72% of skilled workers, and this is not the count of minority and women in STEM. So what we want to do is we want to bridge that gap by having STEM-based program that's going to present opportunities in robotics, manufacturing, coding, and sustainable energy. This way, not only can you understand what you're doing from early on, you can become a subject matter expert, and also you can replace those skilled workers that are missing in the state of Texas is right now in the next 2 years.
Okay, so you are presenting a percentage that came out of somewhere, and it is a problem, but I don't understand what the problem is causing. Does that make sense? Like, I understand
Well,
what
if somebody asked me, there was a lack of training in manufacturing, robotics, coding, and
okay.
sustainable energy amongst minorities and women in the state of Texas.
Perfect. That statement going with everything else makes it a problem statement, because you're saying this is what should be done about this. This is what's not right. But besides what's not right, you need to state how it's affecting the community, the society. So it's like a 3-part component. You guys are doing really great. Anybody else has anything else to say? And I'd like to make this my last one so that we can get into the next section. Okay, so I'll take your silence to mean very quickly. I'm just gonna do a quick summary. Mariah, with the 1-parent household, I appreciate the statements that you make. Go back and listen to them. You personalize it, because you say kids are like sponges. You speak about being neglected as a child creates anger and depression issues as an adult. So you are saying things that are normal, that any normal person that has been around can understand. So that's a very communicable benefit to give. So very, very good with what you have on your problem statement. B. Jackson, I appreciate the issue with the society, that we have a society of dysfunctional adults, and the problem root is that the way that the children are being raised needs to be addressed quickly so that we don't get this even further worse down the road. Because we can talk about what's going on in the homes, disintegrating, there's no family unit. So, that's also when you have a grant that deals with unity in the community and in the home, then you have a good program that addresses that. That would be a great grant for it. Alicia, offender. Okay. Definitely kids, you're looking to heal the family with kids being released from incarceration. what I would do in your case is it's very effective for particularly for juvenile offender to set up a juvenile offender support system, which is what you want to do. The problem is that we don't have it. We don't have the support system. What you want to do is you want to get a good story, and you want to name the kid Joe and say all the stuff that happened, either a tragic thing or a thing that got better. But these kind of grants, when you indicate what the problem is, if you have enough room to put in a short story about 2 sentences about something that happened, those make that kind of grants very personable. Don.
Excuse me, I'm sorry. I got to tell you this. He hung himself last night.
Oh,
Absolutely. So I do have a personal, and he was one of my students. Yes. Thank you.
sorry to hear it.
Thank you.
Excuse me.
You have our condolences.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, that is just that is so sad. Mm,
Okay.
it really is.
Okay. Don Morris. Love the percentage that you brought in. And it is absolutely true. Anybody that is knowing anything about our economy and our people, that there is lack of training among us. Robotics is a high-end thing, coding, manufacturing, sustainable energy, high-end things. Great idea. If you could put the problem itself could be uh, distilled more to say, because this group of people are not getting this type of skill, then they continue in this downward spiral. That's the problem. And then this is the solution. So I appreciate that story and that line of thought, and that you a grant like this, I would major in data.
Yes.
Okay, so very good work. What I recommend for everybody, give it another shot. Give me I guess one paragraph, 5 sentences, 10 sentences in one paragraph as to what your problem that you're trying to resolve is. Now, if you're gonna write a grant or ask for any kind of money, you need to put this information on paper so that people can know what you're talking about, and you don't have to always be talking. You can have something prepared out of the material that we put together. You can actually take out wording that you could put in a letter or you can put in a flyer. Let me just leave that there, because today's class is going to be a little bit different. But I want everybody who's going to be committing to at least if you have a goal of setting up a program, and maybe you're not ready to write a grant, but start writing these nine segments down. You will probably be very grateful to yourself that you started it, and 3 months from now, the work product that you have is you're gonna be a different person, because you would have learned a lot of material that you have put together, and you are able to go out there and knock on doors, well, at least email doors, and have a fundraising thing with this grant writing thing. All right, that's all I'm going to say about that. Does anybody have any questions before we move on? Dion, if you have multiple problems, you select the one. If you meet somebody that has a lot of funding, you don't want to tell them that you have all these problems that you're working to deal with, because they're going to want to know how many people you are working with. If you should always say, my number one item, my number one priority, the problem that I'm trying to solve is this. It may have others associated with it, in which case those other problems are part of the main one. If it's education, and then it's medical, and then it's food supply, then those are 3 different programs, you need to determine which is your priority. If you have the opportunity ever to speak to somebody who has any kind of money to give you, always remember this. It's easier for them to write a check to you if they know one thing that you do that they believe in than if you tell them 7 that you're working with. It's easier for them to say, this person is about this. And then they relate you to that kind of a need that you're supporting. And that's what you want to, as you go along, convey. So even if you have multiple problems or multiple situations that you're trying to set up, focus on developing the main one. Any other questions?
I have one thing I want to say. This is Marcus. Anyone who didn't come to the first class and missed the class 2 weeks ago, could you please put your email in the chat and also put a little message saying you want the workbook, you need the video, and you need the work from the last class. Thank you.
Okay, Marcus. All right, so let's go on here. Writing program goals. So goals are, to me, are the easiest thing to write, because to me, I just think of it as, if uh, I were in a perfect world, what would I want to achieve? And I mean, within reason, I should be able to acquire this goal. I should be able to get a building to store the supplies. I should be able to develop a network so that we can put out the food timely, and safely. So goals are sort of like, in a perfect world, what will you be accomplishing? The way that you want to apply, when you're writing this response, you focus on these, the questions that are up here. What are your top 3 goals? What will they address? The 3 goals that you have are for food distribution and wellness with COVID safety. Whatever it is, your 3 goals that you're trying to do, you set them up. What will they address? What will the program look like if the funding comes in 1 year from today? And I know it's difficult for some people, but if you had, let's say you needed $10,000, if you had them now, how will you manage that to affect what the program, or what the program looks like a year from today? So that's how you have to focus your mind. What activities will take place so that you can get the results? So it's not just, okay, so we're going to acquire this building. What activities are you going to? Perhaps, okay, this is going to require that we engage an attorney to help us with certain things. Perhaps we need to make sure that our books are in order. If we're going to purchase it, or if we're going to get it donated, then we need to get our support in line. So you think through the things, and that's how you set up your goals. And if you can think through from A to Z, from not having a building today and meeting with the board and saying, we can't buy one, let's lease one for 1 to 3 years. After that moment, by the time that you get the building, how will the building be used, and how will it benefit and further your purpose? So that's how I would look at this. It's something that I wouldn't sit down to do it at the end of the day when you're tired, because it doesn't flow as well. The way that I encourage people to think about this is, you sit down, say, I'm going to take half an hour, because you need to take time to write stuff, right? Again, what I would do is, I would think, if a potential donor were offering me $25,000, for me to tell them what my goals are, to convince them to give me that money, what would I tell them? So the program goals, what they do is that they provide a simple but thought through goals that will cover the reporting period and project how things will look in the future with the help of your activities and approach on the subject beneficiaries. So Get, as I said before, get 3 goals showing your actual or proposed achievements. If you're working now, you can use your current achievements to say, presently, we're serving 290 people. With this new program, we're going to be able to service double that. You want to tell them what your current or proposed achievements are with your current resources. So this is what we're doing now, and the funds will help us to double. Uh, Again, think each goal through. Does it make sense? Because sometimes, things make sense in my head, and then in my office, usually I have to think through, because just because I'm thinking it, it doesn't make sense when it comes out of my mouth. And I personally found that I need to slow down, say, what is it that I'm trying to say? And it's okay to take a moment to take a breath. So I'm learning this that I'm telling you. Think each go through, whenever possible, engaging descriptions or specifics that are direct answers that elicit an emotional response from the potential donor. Marcus had a situation. Marcus had a meeting after on Wednesday. He had a meeting, and I was there, and he was making a statement about the health fair, the toy drive, and how when they left, and I quote, when we left, there were kids riding scooters and bicycles everywhere, end quote. And I thought, that's brilliant. You want to say, when you leave, this is what was going on back there. That's the kind of stuff that you can project into the future. You've done this before, and this is the result. And if you help us, it's gonna look like that. All right. So the next part of this workbook basically deals with, what are goals? Well, you're gonna start running. You're gonna improve your homepage, play more football, things that are more general. But when you're going to write them down, you want to have because it's a program. You want to have the activities that need to take place, and the items that are needed. You need to mention those too, but you don't concern yourself so much with the money. So, having said that, this is just a landing page to just talk about. Let's say this semester, or this semester. Let's say in January. Our organization will, whatever it is, we're going to, write our first grant. We're going to get a fundraising strategy moving. We're going to get a funding letter writing campaign. And so by when and how? So this is, a program, how you set it to have a thought through goal. So for next week, what we're gonna do now is, for next week, I'm gonna show you. You'll have this, and if you don't have it, the ladies at CAVN will forward it to you. This again, let's see, where am I? This is the it's a worksheet that allows you to go through and think through and type in here. This is in Word. You already have been working with this. If you're starting with last week's, then these are the suggestions, recommendations, and just things to think through. Again, everything that we've discussed. And writing program goals. It tells you, describe 3 goals. And we're adding, best if these discussions happen around members of the same group or cause. So when you're writing your goals, if you have 2-3 other people, 7, 20, get everybody involved. Say, okay, what are our goals? Write those down. It'll be a lot simpler. And again, from the perspective of, in a perfect world, what we recommend is that once you have your I would say outline of what you want to say, that you narrate and that you speak and record and then edit. If it's going to be a lengthy thing, you can just, instead of typing it, because it takes away from the flow of the words from your mind, what we recommend that you do is you write an outline that you understand, you don't, however it works for you, and then speak it into a recording. And then if you can, you type it, or have some, better yet, have somebody else type it for you. And then you all get together and look at it and see how it needs to be changed. The more people that look at it, the more perspective and depth the writing and the work product gets. So here it talks about questions that you want to talk about, your accomplishments, specifics. So you can go through those. And again, they're just guides for you to develop a flow. Focus. Okay. So for next week, please take a look at item number 2, writing program goals, and provide 3 perfect world scenarios, 3 goals in a perfect world scenario, if that makes sense. Does anybody have any questions?
No, I don't.
Okay, then I guess the next class would be the first Saturday in January, God willing. Marcus, I'm gonna give it back to you. Jackson, I'll be sure to send everything to the CIVN ladies, because that way they can make sure that everybody gets everything. Marcus? I think we lost Marcus. All right, does anybody, while Marcus shows up, does anybody have any ideas on what goals, what your top goal for the next year in your group?
Can you repeat that
This
question?
Keisha, my top goal would be to provide or create a partnership with elderly living facilities, and maybe work with their chef or work with their food provider, and help try and integrate, some of the fresh food idea that I have with the garden group.
Fantastic. All right, so yeah, Mariah, what it was, do you have like a main goal that was on point? You obviously have thought about it and are bringing in the problem that you have to this solution that you're looking to do. So that's how you do that, and it makes perfect sense. So you don't have to have a lot of writing words to let somebody know what you're trying to do. You're using an established network to get the work that you want done, and it's very clearly okay. Yeah, I'll make sure that I will. I'll make sure that I will. If you put in your email in there, I'm gonna copy the chat and I'll send it to the CIVN ladies, and they'll be sure to send everyone, including the emails that are here, the workbook and the workbook worksheet. And today I'm going to also record this right after and send you a link of the recording, so that you'll be able to have this all in one email. I do believe I'm going to be able to do it. I'm very excited about this class. Very moved by the work that everyone is doing. I am very honored to be a part of this. So that's all I want to say. If Marcus is not going to come back, then I know that everybody is busy doing things. I just want to say to all of you, all the work that you're doing, it means something. Sometimes we can, make a huge difference, and we can't even tell. But when we can't make a difference, we still made a difference, because we are a force for good in this world. None of, I mean, not that we don't want to be rich and famous. If, you know, I always say if God had made me rich instead of good looking, I wouldn't have these problems. But, you know, I'd rather help the my fellow man, and I am a rich man because I do that. And I know just talking with each of you, working with each of you, listening to what you have to say, uh, I know that the the goodness that's in your hearts can only come from God, and I'm just very happy and honored to be supportive and of any kind of help to all of you. So thank you. With that, I'm just gonna let
And
everybody go.
Eliezer, we greatly appreciate you. We appreciate you taking time out of your busy life to, be here to teach us this very important topic and project. So we really appreciate you as well.